Hi, everyone. Well, there's certainly a lot of excitement on the internet these days about what's been called the event. You've probably seen it. A great deal has been written and channeled about this phenomenon that's been predicted for humanity and the earth for quite a long time now. If you're not sure what the event is, much of what you'll hear me say here may initially sound unbelievable to you, perhaps too good to be true. And this is understandable, but see if you can simply take the information in and feel if it resonates with you on a deeper level than your rational mind. Often our gut and our heart can know things our mind can't fathom. See if you can just accept the possibility of what is described here, because if you can, it will help prepare you for the event when it does happen. Now, you're likely already familiar with what's been called ascension, or the shift into the fifth dimension. If not, these terms simply describe the process that both humanity and the earth are currently experiencing, a very rapid and often rocky ride into the much higher frequency of consciousness. And in the transitional stage of this shift that we're currently passing through, there are many signs across the world of conflict, collapse, and destruction of old familiar structures and institutions in society. And as a result, there's a lot of fear and uncertainty in people as the separation and deep divisions that humanity has always lived in become all the more visible and activated. It's really important to be aware that all this is occurring so that these divisions can be clearly seen and finally resolved. It's like all the toxins are coming to the surface now. And nothing that's based in corruption, greed, dominance, hatred, or oppression can survive the shift that's occurring. But don't let these frightening events cause you to feel fear or despair. Understand that at some point, not only will all this chaos diminish and end, but a whole new and transformative experience on earth will be presenting itself. And it will begin with what has been referred to as the event. The event is going to bring radical, unexpected changes to everyone on the planet. Although the changes will be overwhelmingly positive, the huge shift of consciousness that will be occurring may initially cause some confusion and even fear, especially in those who have no idea what has occurred. It's therefore helpful to have at least some intellectual preparation for it beforehand. So, what exactly is the event? It's difficult to predict exactly what will actually happen at the time of the event, but according to many sources, it will be the beginning of a collective ascension process, a quantum leap in spiritual evolution for humanity. And it will be the catalyst to mark the beginning of the building of a new earth and a long predicted golden age. From what we're told, the event will initially manifest with a galactic pulse, an explosive solar event that is said to have occurred previously in our galaxy every 26,000 years or so. This pulse will release a brilliant light arriving directly from source through the galactic central sun, which in the past has triggered a mass ascension on Earth each time it's occurred. This phenomenon is described in a number of different spiritual texts, including the Christian Bible, and many ancient cultures apparently hid the science of this cycle in their mythologies. And there's now also scientific data and testimony from people working deep within secret space programs who support this idea of a solar pulse event that is due to happen in the near future. According to these sources, when the galactic pulse occurs, it will start a process of radically transforming matter, energy, consciousness, and biological life as we know it. The incoming energies and light from the pulse will begin to flow through the energy field of all humans as a palpable wave of love, one like we've never experienced before. So, what will happen to us when this wave of love hits us? It's said that most people will experience the wave as overwhelming bliss, and that we'll need to stop whatever it is we're doing to take in the changes that will be occurring within us. We can expect that when the wave initially hits us, we will probably only want to focus on what's happening internally for us. For a while, all interest in things such as our computer, our phone, or eating will just fall by the wayside. All we'll need to do is just breathe through what we're feeling and absorb the energies of profound love and light as our body attempts to assimilate them. The experience of bliss may last through a number of days afterwards. By many reports, the light coming on this wave will also be unbelievably beautiful, creating a sense of heaven on earth. Everything will look and feel lighter and brighter. You will sense that nothing will ever quite be the same again. You'll realize that this is what you've been waiting for your whole life, whether you've been aware of it or not. It's what you incarnated to experience. It'll feel like you have finally come home. At some point afterward, your spiritual gifts will begin revealing themselves to you. You may discover telepathic abilities that are natural to you, along with clairvoyance, clairsentience, and clairaudience gifts you never knew you had. Your mission for this lifetime will also become abundantly clear. With the advent of these new energies, there will be a general rise in consciousness of all humanity on the planet. Although everyone will have their own individual experience of healing, release of the past, and inner transformation. Now, some people who are prepared for it will be able to adjust to the changes fairly quickly. Others will not and will need help in understanding and adjusting to what has happened to them. And still others who have been living in a great deal of negativity may be hit so hard that they might not be able to survive the new frequencies. So an interesting thing to know is that it's reported from a number of sources that humanity is receiving a great deal of assistance in shifting toward the event from a wide range of galactic forces known generally as the Light Alliance. They're focusing on battling dark forces of non-terrestrial beings that have essentially held humanity hostage for 25,000 years. If you've never heard this before, it may sound like science fiction, but be aware that it is actually real. There are increasing numbers of credible whistleblowers from secret space programs run by the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Air Force who have, in the past few years, courageously come forward to reveal this information to us. Research it for yourself and you'll see. You'll learn that the dark forces have existed with us in our skies, inside the earth, and also on the inner planes, using highly developed technology to keep themselves hidden and in control. And all of this information has officially been kept from the public, mainly due to a small group of people known as the Cabal or the Illuminati, small groups of people who have held most of the human race enslaved for thousands of years through financial, political, religious, health, and mind control. They themselves have essentially been controlled by the negative non-terrestrials. However, in the past few years, ever-increasing numbers of white hats in the military, intelligence agencies, and space programs on the planet have been involved in wresting control from the cabal, mainly behind the scenes. And there is evidence that they are now finally succeeding in bringing them to their knees. At any rate, let's look at what it is said will happen after the event. Okay, so on the physical level, we're going to see first the arrests of the cabal. And this process may happen beforehand. In fact, it might have already begun, as there are now more than 18,500 sealed indictments all across the U.S. waiting to be unsealed. You can research this. It's a phenomenal number of sealed indictments, and it's predicted that the major players of the cabal are among the individuals who have been indicted, the identities of which are going to surprise a great many people. So, okay, a second thing that'll happen is disclosure of information through the mass media, releasing a whole lot of information, such as an explanation of the event, the mass arrests, the non-terrestrial presence that's been on the planet for millennia, how humanity has been enslaved for thousands of years, and how we've never known our true history that has involved a number of ET races. This, of course, is going to be huge for the millions of people who have had no idea about any of this. Then there's going to be a reset of financial systems across the planet and release of prosperity funds for all humanity. There's evidently plenty of money to bring everyone on the planet out of poverty. It's just been in the wrong hands, or it's been with people who do wish to distribute large funds to humanity, but are hesitant to release it yet due to the control the cabal still has over the financial structures. The cabal's control is breaking down at this point, but there are still enough of them in the banking institutions to cause a disruption in the flow of money where it needs to go. So this whole thing needs to wait until after the event. So yet another thing that will happen after the event is the introduction of new political systems, educational systems, and healthcare systems, many of which have already been planned, but they're just waiting for right timing to be able to be put into place. And then there's going to be something that so many people have been waiting for, and that's first contact in person with the many benevolent non-terrestrial beings who have been assisting humanity towards liberation and ascension, and who will be joining us to help create the new Earth. And very exciting also will be the introduction of spectacular new technologies brought by the ETs, which have been on the planet for decades, but not available to the public. And these are going to provide amazing health benefits and free energy for everyone in the world. So the big question, of course, is when will the event happen? Unfortunately, the date of the event is unknowable at this point, except that it may well be soon. Meaning, according to different sources, it could happen anytime, even in 2018, or up to perhaps 2028. It all depends on many factors, including the complete liberation of the planet from the dark forces in space, and the removal of the cabal members who are currently wreaking havoc in every way they can through false flag terrorist events, engineered weather disasters, and attempts to use nuclear missiles. It also depends on the consciousness of humanity, which needs to be at a certain level of awareness and readiness to make the huge leap into a higher consciousness. The timing will evidently further be determined by energetic astrological alignments and final preparation and readiness of new systems to be put into place. However, there are many signs that we are now nearing the time for the event to take place, at least within the next few years, if not a whole lot sooner. One sign is the fall of the cabal that already seems to be occurring. And this is something you can research online and find lots about what's been happening behind the scenes. Another sign is the increasing number of favorable reports about the Light Alliance's success in winning battles in space. And yet another sign is the huge number of people now waking up, both to who they are on a spiritual level and to the disclosure information that just streams across the internet these days, even despite all the censorship occurring within websites, YouTube videos, and Facebook postings. It is clear there is a huge spiritual awakening tsunami occurring on the planet, and it's very exciting. So once this reaches a critical point with everything else in place, the event is expected to happen. We just need to be patient and trust it will all happen in perfect divine timing and in the smoothest way possible. However, there are many of us who are now, in 2018, reporting we are already experiencing what could be the beginnings of this solar flash coming in as a wave. We are feeling the outer frequencies of it now streaming onto the planet as a wave of profound love. If you can shift your awareness toward it, you may be able to experience this and discover how you can effortlessly begin to ride the energies this wave brings. They're getting stronger and stronger as time goes on. In a way, it's possible that the event won't just be a one-time event, that there could be powerful pulses or waves that hit us both before the main pulse occurs and then afterwards as well. So it would be more of a gradual process. And this could well happen over a period of years. There's no knowing at this point. But the main thing is that the event is in our near future, and most of us alive now will be experiencing it. And as we approach it, we will be experiencing more and more positive energies streaming onto the earth, preparing us for it. So, this is all exhilarating to contemplate. Definitely a gift beyond words that we can look forward to with a great deal of excitement and relief. But does this then mean we can just sit back and wait for it to happen, assuming we'll all just ascend at that point into the fifth dimension? Probably not. My understanding is that the event will not be a free pass into 5D. It will likely only be the beginning of the shift into the fifth dimension. Yes, we will all be lifted into a much higher frequency of love and wholeness. Our whole lives will change considerably for the better, and perhaps certain highly evolved individuals will shift directly into the fifth dimension at that time. But for many of us, it would probably be too radical a shift to make all at once. For our comfort, and also for serving our highest evolutionary potential, it needs to be a somewhat more gradual process. Even if we've been functioning from a very high frequency most of the time, such a sudden shift could initially create some instability and fear in us if we're still holding on to any third dimensional attachments, beliefs, goals, or relationships. So it therefore makes sense that it's important for us to continue now on whatever path of healing and awakening we're currently following, so we may be best prepared to use the energies of the event for our own evolutionary development when it happens. In one way, nothing will have changed, although the event will give us an enormous boost in consciousness and healing will be easier. we will still be responsible for our own awakening into higher consciousness. And if we know we're here to assist humanity and the earth through these times of the shift, it's especially important for us to prepare ourselves for the event now, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. By doing this, we can be the most effective in our roles when the time comes to assist others in adjusting to the new frequencies and also to the new information coming out. In particular, many people are going to be greatly disturbed by the disclosure of information about the crimes that have been committed by many high-profile political, financial, and corporate figures they may have respected, including crimes such as human trafficking and pedophilia. There's abundant evidence already of these crimes. Again, do your research on this if it's new to you. You'll see what I'm referring to. Also, although it's clear much will initially be transformed miraculously by the event, there will still be a huge amount of work to be done to clean up the messes humanity has created, both on the earth itself and within all social, financial, political, educational, and health institutions. It will take some time, concerted effort, and powerful intention to help align these institutions with the new energies. And this is when all of us who know we're here to assist in creating the new earth will finally have the opportunity to step forward and offer our skills and our love. Now, being intellectually aware of what will likely be happening when the event occurs is helpful. However, much more preparation can be made on other levels so you can meet the energies of the event with greater ease and joy. In particular, emotional healing of all negative patterns that are still running in your life is important. It's time to get really honest with yourself and see what you can do to process the emotions involved in these patterns and to release them. Many people are currently experiencing a resurfacing of all their old unresolved emotional patterns. It's just what's going on now. If this is happening for you, rather than despairing about this, see it as a sign that you're getting close to a huge release of old karma. Stay positive and keep clearing it all out. Be willing to let go of what is not keeping you in as high a vibration as possible. And trust that in doing this, new situations, people, and events will be coming into your life, bringing even greater joy and love to you. But let's look at what's really important to do in your emotional healing process. If you're like most good-hearted people, you have probably already learned well how to be of service to other people. Some people are still in the process of learning how to step out of a consciousness of selfishness and developing empathy and compassion for other people. But if you're listening to this, I imagine you already feel a natural compassion for the suffering of others and are drawn to assisting them when you can. And this is an important aspect of higher spiritual consciousness. But what you may not be so good at is being of service to yourself, and in particular, knowing how to love yourself unconditionally. It's important to understand that if you're going to shift into the fifth dimension, it's essential to truly learn how to do this. Learn to love yourself unconditionally. The event will certainly assist with this, but you can get a head start on it now and be all the further ahead when it happens. If you've been on a healing path for a while, you may have been attempting to learn how to fully love yourself for some time, but you've likely found this to be a task more easily talked about than accomplished. You've perhaps asked yourself such questions as, how can I get past the self-judgments that seem to automatically arise, especially around certain actions I take or aspects of my personality? How can I move out of the self-doubt that constantly comes up whenever I attempt to do something new or difficult? Or how can I forgive myself and let go of guilt for certain things I've done? How can I neutralize the profound pain that occurs when shame shows up? As you've undoubtedly discovered, getting past any of these emotions is not easy. Learning to love yourself unconditionally can seem almost impossible at times. So often, shame and guilt, self-doubt, and self-judgment can arise so quickly there seems no way to stop them. It can feel as if experiencing these emotions is just a natural part of who you are, and that it's appropriate for you to be feeling them. The emotions feel accurate. You automatically assume you should be feeling them because you believe yourself to be an inherently flawed person, inadequate and inferior in certain ways, and that you somehow need to earn your way into okayness through hard work on yourself. Now, you may understand intellectually this is not really so, but it's much more difficult to know this on the emotional level. It's as if your lack of feeling okay, just as you are, is such a deep programming inside you that you can never successfully eradicate it. Well, the first thing to understand about this experience is that, yes, there is a deep programming within you that very powerfully keeps you in self-doubt, shame, guilt, and self-judgment. Although you might feel that you have this programming stronger than certain other people you know, this actually isn't an issue that is personal to you. It came with the package known as the human body that you entered into in coming into incarnation on the earth. It's a type of technology known as the primary implant, which the negative forces who have kept humanity in captivity for thousands of years have managed on the inner realms to insert into every one of us at birth. Attached to the pineal gland on the etheric level, it serves to keep us in a position of feeling separate from source. It's designed to keep us feeling weak, unempowered, and in fear. Now, this is really important to understand, as it explains how we often feel governed and controlled by negative beliefs about ourselves, as well as fearful about our survival. It also explains why it seems to take inordinate intention, awareness, and practice to keep reminding ourselves that we are one with Source. Not knowing about this energetic implant, psychologists have generally simply called it the superego, or the inner critic, believing it to be a natural part of the human psyche. But actually it is not. It was not part of the original human blueprint. It's been added to by the dark forces in control on the planet. It's important to remember that the hold these negative forces have on us is greatly weakening at this point, however. As humanity is slowly being liberated by the Light Alliance, and as time goes on, you may begin to feel freer of negative emotions and beliefs about yourself. With the advent of the event, this implant may begin to disintegrate altogether. But meanwhile, it is still with us at this point. So it's important to understand its presence with you. In recognizing this, you can then learn to catch those automatic attacks of guilt and shame and doubt and not give them a lot of energy. They aren't you. They aren't even a natural part of you. They are simply with you as part of the experience of being in a physical body on 3D Earth at this time. So when you hear or feel the inner voice telling you something's wrong or deficient about you, catch yourself from automatically falling into guilt or shame. Don't defend yourself or try to convince this voice that you really aren't as bad as it's saying you are. That just strengthens its hold on you. Instead, you can just remind yourself that you're not inherently bad or flawed in any way. You're simply caught in a human incarnation, attempting to wake up against tremendous odds, with the cards automatically stacked against you. Then spend some time focusing on the little self inside you who has been bullied by this internal programmed voice all your life, and comfort it with love, understanding, and compassion. As you begin to do this, the hold the negative emotions have on you will diminish greatly, and you'll find yourself rising a lot more rapidly in frequency, and you'll be able to hold yourself there more easily. Self-love will just come more naturally at that point. Now, this isn't to say you never make what could be called mistakes, or never do anything that's hurtful to others that needs to be corrected. Like all of us, you likely do make mistakes and act hurtfully towards others at times. It's just a part of living in the third dimension, and it's part of your learning and evolution in consciousness. But with clarity about the profound difficulty that exists in the current reality you're living in at this point, it can be a lot easier to avoid falling into automatic shame or guilt about what you've done. You can simply see where a correction needs to be made and take care of it in a neutral and a self-loving way. Self-forgiveness can then just happen as a natural occurrence. You don't have to strive towards it. And in doing this, you can then also see that your personality, with all its third dimensional distortions and struggles, really isn't who you are anyway. In reality, you're a soul, a multidimensional being of light. Your personality is just clothing you've been wearing for a long time. And you could take it off and decide to wear another higher dimensional outfit for a change. One comprised of self-love, self-respect, joy, confidence, and well-being. Keep reminding yourself that you truly are already perfect, just as you are. If you find yourself in a mindset of needing to fix yourself, stop and realize there's nothing wrong with you. You just need to wake up more. You need to discover and step more fully into your true identity. Now, this may still involve a lot of healing, but it can be done from a consciousness of greater love and compassion for yourself, and therefore achieve results much more rapidly. And as time goes on, you'll be able to watch all third dimensional imperfections and distortions just naturally falling away. And further, as you're reducing your reactivity to the programmed voice inside you, you'll also see that feeling a sense of well-being and happiness comes more naturally to you. In fact, you can see that happiness is a choice. Rather than waiting for outer circumstances in your life to change so you can be happy, you can instead have an intention to be happy now, to accept life as it is with equilibrium and joy, no matter what is happening. It is an inside job. And your default mood will gradually morph into one of greater contentment and well-being. Doing healing work with all this in mind at this point will prepare you well to greet the event when it does occur, ready to fully enter the fifth dimension as quickly as possible. So, another way to ready yourself for the event is to evaluate your relationships at this time. How harmonious are they? Have you resolved old childhood conflicts, hurts, disappointments, and anger towards family members? It's really time to do this. Even if these people aren't ready to do this with you, you can heal your part of any rift or wounding with them inside of you. It's time to let all that stuff go and get on with your life. If you're with a partner or spouse, ask yourself, is this relationship truly nurturing you at this point? Are you feeling deeply loved and respected? Do you feel able to grow spiritually and shift into the deepest aspect of who you are while being in an intimate relationship with this person? If not, is it time to decide to either find a way to make it really work for both of you, or to perhaps leave each other? Are you staying together simply out of fear of being alone? These are important questions to ask yourself. If you're finding relationship issues are up for you at this time, bringing up hurt and anger and other uncomfortable issues, know it is time now to resolve them. Take charge of this process. Seek ways to heal them, or you may find life resolving them for you in very unpleasant ways. Remember, you can't take your 5D, you can't take your 3D baggage with you into the fifth dimension. You have to leave it behind. One phenomenon that is causing relationship issues for many at this time are the powerful waves of the event that are beginning to stream onto the earth. They're causing an increasing divide between those souls who have decided to shift toward the fifth dimension at this time and those who have not. One way to understand what is occurring is to see what has been described as two earths that have been shifting away from each other. This doesn't refer to two physical earths, simply to two groups of people who are functioning in increasingly divergent frequencies. And at some point, those people choosing to continue living in third dimensional reality will no longer be here on the earth as it shifts into the fifth dimension. Some will die beforehand, and others, it is said, will be taken away to other places in the galaxy in which the third dimension is still functioning. Some of the people who are choosing not to shift to the fifth dimensional earth may be certain family members, old friends, or a spouse or partner of yours. This can be a difficult situation to experience. But if you're finding yourself wanting to spend less time with people you've formerly been close to, feeling as if they're constantly draining you or boring you, this may be a sign it's time to change how you're relating to them. The event will inevitably make the relationships that survive the shift easier to engage in and much more enjoyable and harmonious. However, the principle of like attracts like will be much stronger, so you will likely find yourself wanting to spend more time with people vibrating at a similar frequency as you are. This may include new people you don't even know yet. If this division of two earths is going to fully happen at some point, why not move in the direction of 5D now by evaluating your relationships and doing what you need to do with them, and thus be ahead of the game? So, those are some ways you can prepare for the event on the emotional level. What about spiritually? There are important things you can definitely do to spiritually prepare yourself for the event. This preparation probably includes what you're already doing to increase your spiritual awakening. There are a great many paths to take in which you can continue to discover the essential truth of who you are as a divine, multidimensional being, and also as simply consciousness itself. However, if you've just been a dabbler in meditation till now, it may be important for you to try to establish a meditation practice that uniquely works for you, and to now make this a priority in your life. There really is little to compare to a daily meditation practice for increasing spiritual growth and awareness. Even committing to just 15 minutes a day can be helpful. If you tend to have difficulty in meditating or simply in sitting still, see if you can find someone, a teacher, a coach, or a group that can assist you in learning how to comfortably do this and to explore your inner world in a way that works for you. We're all different. There's no one way. Use music, movement, or chanting if any of these help. Just do try to get into a meditation practice. It will help to balance you and keep you balanced through this whole period of time as we move towards the event. Another practice that can be very helpful is becoming extra vigilant about the thoughts and emotions you dwell on as you go about your life. It's important to really take charge of the thoughts and emotions you're allowing your mind to focus on. In particular, if you're still engaging in a lot of negative thinking and emotional reactions to events happening around you and in the world, you might stop to contemplate this. It's understandably difficult to accept with equilibrium much of what's occurring in the world at this point, or at least seems to be occurring, since it's hard to know for sure due to all the fake news being reported these days both by the mainstream media and by the alt media. But negative reactions of anger, fear, blaming, or despair to anything you hear or read are neither helpful in keeping your vibration high nor in assisting the collective consciousness to rise out of fear and anger. In particular, it's really important that we become aware of any of the ways we may be adding to the elements of polarization and separation that are currently increasing in the world through our judgments and our reactions to certain political personalities. Staying in our hearts with compassion for everyone, no matter who they are, is essential, and remaining neutral when others around us begin judging or complaining. It's just really important to stay neutral and in compassion. And at the same time, it is helpful to process negative emotions if they continue to arise within you. If you find yourself obsessing about them, then it's time to be with those emotions and not try to push them away, distract yourself from them, or try to change them. Take time to be with them compassionately, allowing and accepting them as a part of your experience at this time. Know that if they're arising during these times, they are attempting to be released to prepare you for the new energies coming in. And allowing and accepting them is a first important step to take in being able to release them. Also remember that we all have much help available to us from the inner realms at this time, beings who are eager to assist us through the healing process into higher awakening and transformation. Ascended masters, archangels, benevolent galactics, they're all accessible to us. We simply need to ask for their assistance. So, those are some things you can do to prepare yourself spiritually for the event. How about physical preparation? Will that be necessary? It's hard to say, but there are some who say that the event will inevitably initially bring about some radical disruptions in the everyday functioning of the world. Kind of makes sense that it would happen. So it might be wise to prepare yourself ahead of time to keep you going on the physical level for a few days, maybe even a few weeks after it happens. And here are some of the usual suggestions. Keep an extra 2 weeks of food and water on hand. Make sure you and your loved ones have an up-to-date supply of any medicines you might need. Keep extra cash hidden away in your home. And keep your vehicle gassed up to maybe at least half full most of the time. These precautions are also good to take at this point during the shift, due to the fact that serious Earth changes have been predicted by some for the times ahead of us. With preparation, you can then kind of relax, knowing you've done all you can to provide comfort for yourself and your loved ones during whatever might be happening. Another way to physically prepare for the event is to begin eating as healthfully as possible. Perhaps you can decide to really follow through on semi-commitments you've made to yourself in the past, like finally ceasing your consumption of sugar. Pay attention to foods you're eating that you might be allergic or addicted to, and focus on cutting them out as well. Also, if you're not already doing so, follow through with your plans to get as much healthy exercise in as possible. With all the major changes that will be happening, especially to your body, this is a time you'll really want to be as fit and healthy as you possibly can be, so your body can make the shifts it needs to in absorbing the new energies with as much ease as possible. So another question a lot of people have is there any way to help bring on the event at this point? Well, from what we can tell, the 100th monkey principle probably applies here. The more people there are of us who wake up, the sooner the event will be able to occur. A critical mass is needed. Knowing the power of group energy, there are groups currently meditating together on a regular basis to focus on the event and help shift humanity toward it. One of them is a man by the name of Jared Rand. He holds a daily meditation group with people from around the world focused on awakening the collective and bringing in the reality of the new earth. They meet on the phone every day at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I've listed the phone number below for this. And there's also a weekly meditation hosted by the Prepare for Change website that meets on Sundays at 7 p.m. GMT. I list the URL for this below also. And of course, you can also focus on the event and creating the new earth in your own personal meditations. You can spend time sending light and love to all the troubled spots in the world, to specific countries, to people who are involved in bringing down the control factions, and to the galactic forces fighting for our liberation. All of it helps immensely. And of course, whatever you choose to do it with love and compassion for all souls currently living on Earth. We're all in this together. We're all one consciousness, whether we agree with each other about what's important or not. Even those who will not be choosing to shift into the fifth dimension need our love and support for their further evolution as souls wherever they will be going. And remember, there are increasing numbers of us awake and aware of what is in process on our beloved planet Earth at this time. Tune into this collective energy whenever you feel dragged down by negative energy, and let it gather you in to give you love and support. Together, we are returning to love This is our birthright. And together we can all make it through these exciting and sometimes challenging final days before the event. So for now, I send you much love and many blessings for these times ahead of us.